Allow me shed some light on the most successful policy of this current administration. And every month, that government receives billions quietly. Yet, for many Nigerians, the impact is hard to see. Is the problem funding or is it accountability? Because when money is allocated but results are unclear, something in the system is not working. When Nigerians complain about bad roads, blocked drainage, dirty markets, or broken primary health centers, they usually blame the federal government, occasionally the state, but rarely do they blame the government that is actually closest to the problem, and every month that government receives billions. So what exactly is this level of government? Nigeria has 774 local government areas. They are constitutional, they are funded, and their responsibilities are not abstract. In simple terms, if it affects your daily life, there is a high chance your local government is involved. And to understand the scale of their role, you have to look at the money. Local governments are not broke. They are funded every month. Through the federation account, a portion of national revenue is allocated to them. Across 774 councils, this runs into hundreds of billions of naira annually. But in practice, that funding has not always translated into visible impact. For years, allocations pass through state-local government joint accounts, meaning the government closest to the people did not always fully control its resources. At the same time, many councils have not consistently operated under fully elected leadership. So responsibility becomes blurred. Who controls the money? Who makes the decisions? And who should be held accountable? And when responsibility is unclear, accountability becomes diluted. In 2024, the Supreme Court ruled that allocations should be paid directly to local governments, strengthening financial autonomy on paper. But implementation is still unfolding, and the real test is not policy. It is whether Nigerians will feel the difference on ground. To understand where the gap comes from, we need to go back to what local governments are actually designed to do. Local governments in Nigeria are defined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. Two key sections matter. Section 7, which establishes local governments, and the fourth schedule, which defines their functions. According to Section 7, local government shall be democratically elected and responsible for governance at grassroots level. That means local governments are supposed to be independent in function, closest to the people, and responsible for delivering basic services. The Constitution is also clear about what those responsibilities are. They are not vague. They are clearly listed in the fourth schedule. Local governments are responsible for revenue generation, including the collection of rates, shops and kiosk levies, market and motor park fees, and other local charges. This means they are not just spending bodies, but revenue generating entities. They are also responsible for infrastructure and public services. This includes local roads, street lighting, drainage systems, and public conveniences. This is where citizens should see government impact on a daily basis. In addition, they are responsible for environmental and sanitation functions. This includes waste disposal, environmental sanitation, and the regulation of markets, slaughterhouses, and public health conditions. This is why refuse collection is constitutionally a local government responsibility. Local governments also provide community and social services. These include primary health care, primary education in partnership with states, and the registration of births, deaths, and marriages. These are foundational services in any functioning system. They also regulate local economic activity through market control, business licensing, and oversight of restaurants, hotels, and public spaces. Beyond this, local governments are expected to mobilize grassroots participation and act as the first layer of governance. However, some responsibilities are shared with state governments. These include primary education, primary health care, agriculture, and natural resources. And this overlap creates a challenge because when responsibility is shared, clarity is reduced. This leads to a clear contradiction. Nigeria has 774 local governments, each with constitutionally defined responsibilities, each receiving FAAC allocations. But across many communities, citizens cannot point to a functioning primary healthcare center, a maintained road, or a reliable waste system. So if the structure exists and the responsibilities are clear, what does local government actually look like in practice? To understand what is possible at the local level, it helps to look at specific examples. Take Ajeromi-Ifelodun. This is one of the most densely populated areas in Nigeria, with over 1 million people within a very small land area. Delivering services in a place like this is not easy. So any sign of functional roads, sanitation, or community services becomes immediately noticeable. You can also look at Agege, a major commercial hub with intense daily activity. In environments like this, local government performance is not abstract. It shows up in road conditions, market organization, waste management, and public order. Both areas are often cited locally as examples where governance appears to be more active. But the key point is this: these observations need to be backed up by data. We assess both local government areas across 4 visible indicators, and we do a side-by-side breakdown. Roads and drainage. In Ajeromi-Ifelodun, pressure is constant. With over 1 million people in a confined space, roads are heavily used, drainage systems are frequently under strain, and waste management becomes a daily challenge. The system is not absent, but it's under visible pressure. But in Agege, the picture begins to shift. In key areas, road networks appear more structured, traffic flow is more organized, and drainage systems, particularly in commercial zones, are relatively better managed. The sanitation gap is also revealing. In Ajeromi-Ifelodun, waste management faces constant pressure because of the sheer volume generated in such a densely populated area. Collection of systems are visible, but so is the strain placed on them. In Agege, waste collection appears more consistent in central areas, with stronger sanitation visibility, especially around key market zones and commercial corridors. That does not mean the problem is solved, but it does suggest a more visible level of organization in how sanitation is being managed. That contrast becomes even clearer in how economic activity is organized. In Ajeromi-Ifelodun, trading is dense, highly informal, and tightly packed into limited space. Economic activity is vibrant, but less visibly structured. In Agege, market environments appear more organized, with clearer layouts, more defined trading zones, and stronger visible coordination, which affects not just movement, but how efficiently commerce takes place. Even in primary healthcare, the differences are subtle but important. In Ajeromi-Ifelodun, facilities exist, but demand is extremely high, and capacity is under constant pressure. In Agege, primary healthcare centers appear more visibly integrated into accessible parts of the community, making them slightly easier to reach for everyday users. Not a perfect system, but a slightly more functional one. Taken together, these differences begin to form a pattern, and this pattern is not isolated. Now, based on the observable indicators, Agege appears more structured in roads, market organization, sanitation visibility. Ajeromi-Ifelodun faces a much heavier structural burden due to extreme population population density and spatial constraints. There are observable assessments, not audited performance metrics, because there is no easily accessible data set showing exact FAAC received by each local government area, or the exact expenditure or measurable output, for example, number of roads built. So the real test is not perception, it is this: if both local governments are receiving monthly allocations, how much are they receiving, how much is being spent, and what is the measurable output? These are questions to be asked by the citizens to encourage accountability. This is the reason performance often falls short. There are three core issues. First is the structural control. If a system does not clearly control its resources, its ability to deliver is limited. This has now been fixed with a ruling in 2024. Second, weak transparency. Most citizens cannot easily answer three basic questions. How much did my local government receive? What was it meant to be used for? And what has actually been delivered? And third, low citizen attention. Many Nigerians do not know their local government leadership. They do not track local spending and do not participate in local elections. So the closest government becomes the least examined. And this is where the real issue becomes clear. Nigeria has never had a fully transparent system where citizens can easily track in a simple and consistent way how much each local government receives, how funds are allocated, and what projects are delivered. So even though money flows, visibility remains limited. And the consequence is simple: you cannot hold accountable what you cannot see. At a time when global events like tensions in the Middle East are affecting energy prices and economic conditions, Nigeria is earning more from oil, and across all levels of government, more resources are flowing into the system, but economic pressure is felt locally. Transportation costs, food prices, and daily living conditions, and local governments are the closest to where that pressure exists, which means they are best positioned to implement immediate, targeted responses. But that can only happen if responsibility is clear and actions are visible. When local governance works, it is not abstract. It is visible in everyday life. Roads that are passable, drainage that works, markets that function, healthcare centers that are accessible, communities that are coordinated. Across parts of Nigeria, from rural road maintenance in the north to community coordination in states like Benue, to primary healthcare deliveries in states like Ekiti and Osun. These functions exist, but they are not consistent. And consistency is what defines a functioning system. And what that brings us to the bigger picture. Nigeria does not just have a federal government or 36 state governments. It has 774 governments positioned closest to the people. And if those 774 are not working, then no national policy can ever fully work. Because development is not delivered from the top, it is built from the ground. And that ground is the local government. And maybe the real question is not just what government is doing, but which government we have chosen to ignore. And this is where things begin to change. Because for the first time, citizens now have access to data. I have attached a link where you can see the FAAC allocations down to each local government. And I've also included a list of the local governments and their current chairmen, so you know exactly who is responsible. Because accountability does not start at the top, it starts with visibility. I am Ajeromi-Ifelodun. This is Nigerianomics. Please subscribe for clear, data-driven insights into how Nigeria really works. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.